Hello everyone, welcome to Crime Cases TV channel. My name is Amir and tonight I'm at your service with another criminal case. If you are looking for a shocking and dark case, do not miss this video. Well, let's go to the video. Robert Henney was working as a carpenter on a farm in Wimmer, Oregon, and had made a deal with the owner of the property. A few months have passed since Robert's work, and Robert's children have not received any calls from him and have not heard from him. Somehow Robert had disappeared. That's why Robert's children decided to go to the farm where their father was working and ask the owner of the property where their father is and why there is no news of him. When they asked the owner of the property, Susan Monica, about their father, she said that Robert had left here a long time ago and had not yet returned. This made Robert's children share this with him. Susan Monica was born on June 8, 1948, but still not much is known about her past, but she grew up in San Francisco and had one brother and one sister. In a conversation she had with the police, Susan said that her sister had Down syndrome and her mother couldn't bear a child with a disability. So she left her sister in a house in Santa Rosa and left her. Susan also said that she has been separated from his brother for a long time and has no relationship with him. Susan always wanted to be away from the city and live in a village far away from the city. Finally, in 1991, at the age of 43, Susan decided to do what she always wanted. Susan bought a 20-hectare farm in Weimar and decided to start a quiet and carefree life away from the city. After some time, Susan decided to build a barn, so she got some pigs to take care of them and made a small room for herself next to her barn so that she could sleep there and go about her daily life. And after some time, Susan decided in order to generate more income, she started raising more pigs and taking care of them and selling their meat to people. It may seem strange to you, but there was no electricity or water in that farm, and Susan used solar energy to power her house. Susan didn't like a woman or a lady. She was very tall and square-shouldered. For example, when she went to the store, people looked at her with surprise, and they even wondered if she was a woman or a man. Susan was a person who didn't even care about her own cleanliness, and there was no place to take a shower inside her house. That's why she smelled very bad and her clothes were always dirty. And this can show the depths of the disaster. Time passed and Susan came to the conclusion that she can't do all her work alone. That's why she decided to publish a job advertisement and hire someone who knows carpentry and helps her with farm work. She decided to build a bigger house on her farm. After publishing a job advertisement, a man named Robert Henney, who was 65 years old, went to her to hire and help Susan. Robert didn't have any home and lived like a homeless person because he slept in a motor van. After Robert went to Susan and they reached an agreement, Susan told him that from now on, you can leave your van in the farm and you don't need to travel anymore, but your salary will be cut in half. After hearing these words, Robert decided to accept this good job opportunity. Now let's know a little more about Robert. Robert was divorced from his wife and had 4 children. He was a heavy alcoholic and his issue bothered his family. Robert visited his children every few months and gave them money. In September 2013, Robert's children found out that their father had not been heard from for several months, and this was the beginning of a great tragedy. After they saw that there was no news about their father, they thought that maybe he was busy with his work or that he would be absent for a while and come back. That's why they decided to wait until Christmas. But maybe there will be news. Christmas came, but there was still no news of their father, and they couldn't bear it anymore, and since they knew where their father was working, they went to Susan's farm and asked her where their father was. They told Susan that we haven't heard from our father for several months, and the last time we heard that he was working for you. That's why we came to you so that you might hear about him. After these conversations, Susan said that your father was a very good and respectful person and he always helped me with the housework. But recently, his alcohol consumption had increased greatly and he was no longer the old Robert because he was always nervous and fighting. That's why I was going to fire him. Before I could do that, he came to me and gave me an envelope of money and told me to take care of his dog because he is going to live here for a while and he has an important job. Susan said I accepted and took the money envelope and now I will take care of his dog and the farm and after that I will not hear from your father anymore. After hearing these burning words, Robert's children decided to take care their father's belongings from there and take them with them. When they entered the room and were collecting things, they came across a strange thing. The strange thing was that Robert's tool belt and wallet were still there. Robert used to take these two with him wherever he went, but he didn't take them this time, so they went to the police and told the police about it. The police started their investigation and found out that the purchase was made with Robert's bank card in a store about a month ago. The police went to that store and checked the CCTV cameras and finally found out who bought with Robert's bank card. Has been burning after these incidents, 2 police officers went to Susan's house and told her that we should check and search your house. After entering the farm and seeing Susan's living conditions, the policeman felt very bad and even wrote in the reports that they couldn't stay there for a long time because of the bad smell of mold and excrement, and that the house was more like a garbage dump than a house. Finally, one of the officers was talking to Susan and another was patrolling the farm when he suddenly encountered something shocking. While patrolling, the officer sees a human leg that was almost disintegrated. After this, the officer quickly goes to Susan and takes her to the interrogation room.
Were you angry at him when he came back? I didn't see him come back. I was angry at him and angry at him and my kids for what happened.
The pen area that you're talking about, is that going to be right by the...
South of the barn.
South of the barn.
South of the barn.
Pretty close to the barn? How close do you think it was to the barn?
Where his body was? 40 feet.
And so what happened, after you fed the rest of your animals and then checked to see, obviously the pigs are going to do what they're going to do. You can't stop them.
Right.
So if they're going to come back to them, if you originally maybe you were trying to shoot them off, but obviously leaving them there, they're going to eat them.
Right. Yes.
So did you check back to see?
A couple of days later. Well, no, I mean every day. And
did you ever move any part of him out of the pen? I mean, there's got to be some birds that aren't eating, like you said, they don't eat clothes, right?
A few days later, when most of him was gone, I went in there and I picked up the clothes. I picked up the few parts that were left.
And what was left?
There was a skull and an arm, and I'm not sure. But I know there was the skull. If you go back out to my barn, and when you go, let me draw you a little picture. is in a couple of plastic bags right there.
Okay.
In the detective's interrogation room, the first question he asked Susan was why you didn't report Robert missing, to which Susan replied, I didn't think it was a big deal. After 4 hours of interrogation, the detectives came to Susan with a new strategy. They asked Susan that if you had not killed Robert, your pigs might have attacked him and killed him. As you know, pigs tend to be brutal and can easily eat a human. In short, after this question, Susan gave a very strange answer to the detectives. Susan said, if that's the case, what will you do with my pigs? Will you kill them? The detectives told her to tell us the truth, because such a case has never happened before. And at this moment, Susan decided to start telling the truth little by little. Susan said, I woke up one morning and heard a lot of strange sounds from inside my barn. When I went there, I saw a lot of pigs gathered in one place. When I got closer, I saw a human lying on the ground and my pigs were eating him. I could barely make out that he was Robert. Susan had said that the pigs were eating Robert and the sound of this man's moans filled the whole farm. I tried very hard to save him, but no matter how hard I tried, the pigs kept attacking him and I couldn't do anything. After these conversations, the detectives asked Susan why you didn't pick up Robert and take him out of the barn, and Susan gave a shocking answer to the detectives. She said that Robert's body was divided into two parts and that's all. His guts and guts were thrown out, his legs were separated from his body. That's why I decided to do a human things for Robert. I took my gun from the storage and shot Robert in the head so that he wouldn't suffer anymore. The detective's next question was why you didn't call the police after the pigs ate Robert and reported. Susan said that I didn't want people to think badly about me and my farm, and if I reported this issue, no one would buy or eat my pork. Finally, the detective decided to take a lie detector test from Susan, and Susan failed this test as well. After this test, Susan urinated on her chair in the interrogation room. After all these cases, it made the detectives zoom in on this person more. The detectives make a last effort and told Susan that this is the last chance to tell the truth to get a little discount on the judge's sentence. After these words, Susan asked for paper and drew a map of her stable and farm and marked a part of the farm and said that you who are looking for Robert should also dig this part of the farm and find a burial place of another person named Stephen, also find. Yes, you heard that right, Stephen. When Susan said this, the detectives were shocked and asked her who Stephen is. Susan tells her story and says that a few years ago, exactly like when I hired Robert, I posted another job and had hired another person named Stephen. Stephen had a history of theft and had been arrested for theft before. After a while, I realized that Stephen was stealing my things and stealing from me. So I went to him one night and told him to return the things you stole from me, otherwise I will call the police. Susan has said that at that moment the argument between me and Stephen have escalated and Stephen got angry and said that I will die but I will not go back to prison, and he shot himself at that moment. After Stephen falls on the ground, burning pigs immediately attack Stephen's corpse and start licking his blood and eating his body. Of course, it goes without saying that this is the story that Susan tells and says that Stephen committed suicide, and it is not known whether it is true or not. The police found the remains of Stephen's body exactly where Susan had drawn and marked his crookey. And the terrible thing about tonight's case is that somehow the main losers of this story were the people who bought pork from this woman. Pigs that were fed by killing and eating human flesh. Finally, Susan's court was commenced on April 12, 2015. One of the police officers of this case was also present in the court and said that during the argument he had with Susan, Susan threatened him and said that if I'm released from here, I will give you to my pigs to eat and I will feed you to my pigs. Finally, Susan Monica was sentenced to 50 years in prison without the possibility of parole for 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of abuse of corpses. Well, this is from tonight's case. Thank you for being with me until the end of this video. If you are interested in this type of videos, please subscribe the channel to be notified of new videos. We are waiting for your likes and comments about this case.